Okay, am I in the frame?
You are.
Okay, good, awesome. All right, hi everybody. As Jess said, I'm Sarah Outlaw, and I'm the owner of Natural Health Improvement Center. I'm super excited to be your host and your speaker tonight. The cool thing is, and I know I told Jessica this before, but back in 2006, when I lived in California, I was able to start a nutrition response testing chapter in an area where there wasn't one. And I was able to meet in a chiropractic office. So my friend Dr. Carolyn Griffin of Back to Health Chiropractic in Santa Clarita, California, opened up her office for us after hours so that I could, lug my kids there, and I had really little kids at that point. My kids are a little older now. And do the chapter meeting. So I did that for a couple of years, and we kind of have come full circle. So now I'm the practitioner opening up the office for the moms with the kids. So it's really kind of a cool full circle experience for me, so I'm super excited. So this is actually one of our most popular topics that we do here at the office. So I teach workshops twice a month here, every other Tuesday night. We teach workshops that are open to the community, for anyone to come. And usually we pack out this place. We usually have 30 to 40 people here for each workshop. And if they get any bigger, we have to move to the library, so we're kind of waiting. But we recently started putting them on our public page, live streaming them so that people can watch at home. So we did, if you go to the NHIC South Jersey page, we just recently did one on sugar a couple weeks ago, and it's already had over 10,000 views. So it was super, super popular because we did demos with the 1 grain of sugar in someone's hand in a muscle test, and they couldn't hold their arm up. 1 little grain of sugar, this big guy. So it was really, really cool. But children's health is one of the things that we really are involved with, obviously, because we have kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews, and because I have children personally, this is a subject that's near and dear to me. So we're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation. I gave everybody hands, and if you didn't get one, they're on that chair there with some really cool recipes. It's a 10-page handout with recipes and those types of things. We're going to go over those, but we're going to go through this, and then we can answer some questions. So children's health, raising naturally healthy kids. Why keeping kids healthy matters. So according to statistics, this is the first generation of children who will not outlive their parents. That's pretty scary. So our children are getting sicker and sicker. Children's Hospital Pennsylvania is full all the time. All of the doctor's offices are always full. Everything is, kids, sick. That's all we ever hear. We have horror stories on our Facebook feeds all the time, right, of kids with all these horrible illnesses. And I don't know about you, but I didn't have that as a kid. So I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I don't remember kids being that sick. You can probably think back. So I went to a private school. I went to Gloucester County Christian School for high school, and it was a small school, but still, we didn't have kids that had asthma. Nobody had eczema. Nobody had food allergies. Nobody had a separate table. You didn't have a peanut table or, whatever. We didn't have that. People were generally, it was rare to have somebody with a condition, or like, oh yeah, that we had one kid in our school who had cancer, who ended up dying of cancer. That was one kid, but that was, like a fluke thing. So according to the CDC, the number of children who currently have asthma in the United States is 6.3 million. There are hardly any. So how old am I? 40? 39? So like think 20 years ago? No.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was like
non-existent. Yeah, I think there was one girl in my high school who had an inhaler for exercise-induced asthma. So when she played field hockey with us, she'd have to use the inhaler, but that was it. I was like, I didn't even know what asthma was until her inhaler. I'm like, what is that thing? I had no idea. And now it's like every other kid. You can't walk down you can't go to the mall, you can't go to the grocery store without people talking about their ailments. So as a practitioner, I hear everything, because I'm always in practitioner mode, even when I'm not. So when I'm going through the store and I'm shopping, I hear chatter. At the beach, I have to put my earbuds in at the beach. I can't even handle it because it's all, moms on the beach with their kids in the middle of the day. And, allergy medication, all the ADD medication, all these medications that they're talking about their kids being on, and it's sad. It's unbelievable. Kids are on 3 to 5 medications, sometimes by the age of 7. It's insane. It's not good. So nasal allergies affect 60 million people, 40% of them being children. So 60 million people have nasal allergies, and 40% of them being children. This time of year is high allergy season and spring. So the testing that I do is muscle testing. So I'm able to find out what organs in the body are weak. So it's funny because every spring and every fall, everybody's livers go down. So muscle testing, you can pulse and see how strong an organ is. In the spring and the fall, everyone's livers are always low, because that's what has to process all the pollens and the molds and all that high allergen things. So it's interesting that the nasal allergies do kind of ramp up, and people are on Zyrtec and Claritin and those types of things in the spring and the fall. There is a correlation because the liver has to do a lot of detoxing and processing. How many people get sick from allergies? Allergic conditions are the most common health issues affecting children in the United States. In 2012, 11.1 million people were diagnosed with allergic rhinitis. So I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. We're all a little bit holistic minded, but some of these statistics we might not have heard of before. People visit the emergency room about 200,000 times each year because of food allergies, and almost 10,000 people stay in the hospital each year because of food allergies. Food allergies, what are those? We didn't hear about those 20 years ago. Never, especially the peanuts. So there's something going on. Something's a little fishy here. So causes of common childhood illnesses. So obviously there's genetics. So you got some genetic issues going on. Modern standard American diet, obviously diet. Nutritional deficiencies, environmental toxins. Pottinger's cats. If you have 14 minutes, about 14, 15 minutes, go on YouTube and look up Pottinger's cats. It's a black and white-ish kind of video. Looks like it wasn't put in color. It talks about Francis Pottinger. Earlier in the 19th century, he did, or 20th century rather, he did some studies on adrenal glands in cats. And he found that when he would take cats and feed them cooked food, the food that they wouldn't normally eat in the wild, they're not their native diets, they got very sick. And their bone structure changed, their tooth structure changed, they weren't able to land on their feet when you dropped them, they became infertile in 3 generations. And it took about 7 generations to reverse it with good nutrition. So he experimented, so he was interested because all of a sudden he had these healthy cats, they became unhealthy. He didn't understand why. Someone had given him some food that was raw, so he started feeding some raw food to the cats, and those cats thrived. So he did an experiment and separated them out. So we had a group of cats who ate cooked food and meats from a sanatorium, and then a group that ate raw food that were supposed to eat, raw meats, raw milk, those types of things. The raw milk cats thrived. They were awesome. They were as cats should be. And the cooked ones did not. They did not thrive. And even the foliage and the grass and the weeds and the things in the pens that had the raw food cats grew, and the other ones died. All of the plants died in that one. Very interesting. So if you have a chance, check it out. And going to, if you ever heard of Weston A. Price, the Weston A. Price Foundation, probably a lot of you have because that's pretty, Holistic Moms Network promotes that a lot. So if you've been around a while with Holistic Moms Network, you know Weston A. Price. He correlated that, he was a dentist, to people. So he took the research that Francis Pottinger did and moved it over to people and visited third world countries to see what their tooth structure looked like. So he thought that because they didn't have dental care, they were going to have horrible teeth because these people had never been visited by white man before. They didn't. It was the exact opposite. Perfect facial structures, perfect bone structure, perfect teeth, no cavities, no crooked teeth, nothing. He went back a couple of decades later, after they had been introduced to Western diet, sugar and carbohydrates and cakes and all those things, and guess what happened to them? Cavities, crooked teeth, their kids all had different bone structures. Very, very interesting. So there's Weston Price research that you can take a look at too. So I like to say that genetics load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. So you're not a slave to your genetics. You can actually turn off genetic pathways. And with nutrition response testing, we actually can figure out how to do that. We figure out what the genetics are. And a lot of people are doing those 23andMe genetic testing anyway. And then you can figure out how to turn on and off the gene pathways and fix your genes, which is kind of cool. High cost of healthcare. Well, we all know about that. We all hear about healthcare on a daily basis, right? It's kind of nauseating. In 2010, Americans with nasal allergies spent about $17.5 billion on health costs. They have also lost more than 6 million school days and made 16 million visits to their doctor. Food allergies cost about $25 billion a year. So sickness is very big business, isn't it? It keeps everybody fat and happy in the medical system and keeps us sick. Antibiotic overuse. This is a big one. Approximately 50% of antibiotic prescriptions written in the outpatient setting are unnecessary, which we know because antibiotic overuse is so prevalent. In 1 year, 262.5 million courses of antibiotics are written in the outpatient setting. This equates to more than 5 prescriptions written each year for every 6 people. That's round after round of antibiotics. Did you know that it takes the body a full year to recover from 1 round of antibiotics? The gut for 1 round. 1 full year for 1 round. Most of the people coming through my doors have been on round after round, and they end up here because usually I'm the last hope. I'm the last place that people come. And they tried everything else, and they try the witch doctor, right? Antibiotic prescribing in the outpatient setting varies by state. Local outpatient prescribing practices contribute to local resistance patterns. So we're having problems with antibiotic resistance, MRSA, those types of things. And the antibiotic strains have to get stronger and stronger. So you can't give people amoxicillin anymore or penicillin. You have to go to the Z-Paks and all of those really, really strong ones. Cipro, which is awful, and a bunch of the other ones. I mean, these antibiotics are so detrimental. So we have people coming through, especially, so I'm thinking specifically of some teenagers. Went on antibiotic for a sinus, something as simple as a sinus infection. Put them on Cipro. So stupid to put a kid on
sinus
Cipro.
infections, it's not even necessary.
I know. It isn't. It's ridiculous. Just use an antipot, some colloidal silver, you're good to go, right? So they're putting these kids on these really strong antibiotics, and they're getting H. pylori after the fact. So H. pylori is a really nasty stomach bacteria, or they're getting C. diff, or they're getting small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Whatever bacteria they're getting, it's detrimental. They're basically losing tons of weight. They're doubled over. They come in here and they are a mess. They're missing school. They're lethargic. They're curled up in the fetal position on their beds. They're throwing up. Their diarrhea is awful. And we have to pick up the pieces and fix these kids. And thankfully, we're able to fix them because their doctor basically says, we don't know what to do now. Put them on another round of antibiotic. Well, guess what? That's what did it in the first place. It's horrible. Poor kids, I feel bad for them. These teenagers, like seniors in high school that are trying to get into college and they're missing all this school. So the majority of antibiotic expenditures are associated with outpatient setting, as I said. Azithromycin and amoxicillin are among the most commonly prescribed antibiotics, but they're starting not to work. The azithromycin is a Z-Pak. Amoxicillin, a lot of people are developing sensitivities to, and it's so mild now that they consider that a mild antibiotic. It doesn't do anything. So, okay, so here's some hope. So what can parents do? Have nutritional testing done to determine what food sensitivities kids have. Nutrition response testing I prefer because it's not invasive. So you can do allergy sensitivity and intolerance testing that's not blood work related and not scratch tests. So you don't have to, it's not invasive for the kids. It takes like 30 seconds too. So the kids, it's really easy and kids like it. They actually climb onto my table voluntarily because it doesn't hurt. So this is a good way to get nutritional testing done to see if your kids have any sensitivities. And sensitivities are immune system based. If you fix the immune system, then you don't have to worry about those sensitivities anymore because they're temporary. They're not true allergies. Change the eating habits of the entire family to whole, nourishing, nutrient-dense foods. We encourage family participation. We don't. So say a child has, say one of your kids has food sensitivity. It's really unfair to the child to make them eat differently than the rest of the family. It does create psychological issues. If everyone else but Sally is eating everything, then it causes some damage psychologically. So what we do is we suggest everybody get on board, make it into a big thing. You know, that's why we don't take kids on a program without a parent, because especially whoever's in charge of the food is who's on the program. And that's because we want to make sure that that fact is kind of filtered through so that we don't have any kids that are like feeling, oh my, I can't eat that. So it's more of a family affair. Use whole food supplementation, herbs, and homeopathic remedies to keep kids' guts healthy, and don't supplement frivolously. Get guidance on what's actually needed. So a lot of people give vitamins that are nutraceuticals. Oh my gosh, I hate that noise. We don't know what that is. That's why I cannot wait to move out of this building, because that noise drives us crazy. We think it has something to do with the elevator. Hear that? It's awful. It drives me crazy every day. Oh my gosh, it's awful. So yeah, should call maintenance about that. So we don't believe in nutraceuticals. So when you're looking at we actually teach parents how to read the labels on the vitamins to make sure that they're not getting synthetics and they're actually getting whole food vitamins, because the body can only use the synthetics. They use them like a medicine. Nutraceutical is like a vitamin medication. So the body uses it like a drug almost. But if you're getting a whole food vitamin, like whole complex vitamin C made out of citrus, an orange, then your body can actually use it and use it long term. So it's really important to understand vitamins and brands, or brands that I don't use, because it's all synthetic nutraceutical type things. We need to teach our children to eat real food, no fast foods, no junk foods, no processed foods, just honest, nutritious, real food, and that's from Grow Food, not Lawns. Now, does this mean you can never have a cupcake, you can never have any sugar? No, doesn't mean that. It just means that when the bulk of your food needs to be whole food, so that your body gets used to eating those types of foods, and you don't have this high sugar tolerance where you have to have everything so sweet that you can't handle anything that's not. So when I bake something, I bake usually with alternative flours like almond flour, coconut flour. Whatever the recipe says as far as like the honey content or even maple syrup, I cut it in half. I might even cut it down to 2 tablespoons. and you can't even, my kids, we don't eat a lot of sweet anymore, so it doesn't faze us. Now, if someone else comes over, like my mom or something, and they eat it, and they're like, oh, this is not very sweet, because they're so used to the sweet. So you kind of have to train your kids to like things that are less sweet. That way they can, it's more beneficial to them. It's better to grow healthy kids than fix injured adults. I was an injured adult, so my system was so messed up, and it wasn't my parents' fault. It was more of like, you know, when you leave home and go to college and then you mess up your own health. And then I had a lot of vaccines because I lived overseas, so I had a lot of vaccines before I knew any better. At 20, I stuck myself right into an autoimmune state. So in my early 20s is when my health really went south. But as a kid, I had irritable bowel. I had lots of digestive issues. I remember eating dinner as a kid and then going upstairs and laying on my stomach on the bed for like an hour because it hurt so bad. Mostly when it was pasta because it was wheat because I couldn't eat the wheat. But it is possible to fix those sensitivities even if you are an adult and if you've had them for a long time. What to feed your kids? So super immunity nutrients. The nutrients that are particularly important for the health of the immune system, the integrity of the tissue lining, the respiratory passages, including the sinuses, digestive system, and for optimal detoxification are A, C, D, and zinc. Make sure they are from food. So food is medicine. Hippocrates said, food is your medicine, let your medicine be your food. And that is important to understand. So let's go through some food sources of these things. Feel free, there's pens up here if you wanted to grab one to take some notes on the food sources of vitamin A, which are your yellow, orange, and green fruits and vegetables. So you want to think about obviously eating the rainbow. I'm sure you've heard that term before, but you want to really get these into your kids. They're super colorful. You can make them into fun shapes and all sorts of fun things to get them to eat them. Sweet potatoes and yams, carrots, leafy green vegetables, especially kale, squash, particularly the winter squashes, which is wonderful this time of year. All of these foods are really kind of in season right now, too. All the really pretty oranges and yellows. Winter squashes of any kind, dried apricots, cantaloupe, red peppers, mango. Vitamin A can also be obtained from cod liver oil, fermented or not, or in the form of vitamin A supplementation. So you can get those too. Liver is a really good source too, even though it's not red or orange or green or yellow, whatever. Food sources of vitamin C, red, green, orange, purple, and blue. Vitamin C from foods comes from red peppers, yellow bell peppers, dark leafy greens, especially kale, kiwi, broccoli, berries, citrus, cooked tomatoes. So those are your food sources for your vitamin C. Really important to get vitamin C, especially this time of year, to fight colds and the flu and all those yucky germs that are floating around. This is a really bad cold and flu season. I've already seen so many really bad cases coming through here. We do non-emergency sick care, so I see sick visits too. So I see a lot of sick people that come in here all the time. And there's some really bad flus and things. What I have noticed though is not all colds and flus are caused by germs. Some of them are caused by chemicals. So in the testing that we do, sometimes someone will come in, they're really sick, but nothing in the immune system box comes up. It's a chemical or metal. So what's happening is that they're breathing it in somehow. It's in the air. So it's in the air. So they're breathing it in. Something happened. The wind blows something through, and I'll have a cluster of people come in, and that week they all come up for the same thing, and they all come from the same area. So whatever they're breathing in the area they live in, is coming in, and usually it's sprayed in the sky. So I'll be the conspiracy theorist. But yeah, usually it's something that's sprayed. And the things that come up are only, we know for a fact because we have the expanded test kits that they're coming from the sky because it's very specific to sky spray. So I'd be happy to talk to you about that after the meeting. It's not when it's not on camera. A little bit more. So I don't get accused of wearing a little tin hat, so whatever. Food sources of vitamin D. So vitamin D this time of year, obviously we have less sunshine. We're not outside as much. So a lot of people, if you work, or you're in the house, you're in the dark most of the day. You don't get a lot of sunlight. So being able to get outside when it's warm like it was today or yesterday is wonderful. Vitamin D, technically a hormone, is critical for optimal immunity. It's low in many kids. Lots of kids who get blood work, you'll find that they come up low for it because they're just not in the sun a lot, or they're getting slathered with so much sunscreen that the vitamin D doesn't ever get, can't convert it. So the best thing to do is take their clothes off and stick them in, put them in the underwear or their diaper, stick them in front of a window when it's cold outside and let them stand in front of the window. That's what they would tell us when we had our babies, if they were jaundiced, to take their clothes off and stick them in front of the window, sitting there. Yeah, so. Hang out in the window. Yeah, it says hang out in the window and enjoy. But yeah, so it's really important. So sunlight, oily fish, salmon, sardines, butter, and eggs. You can actually get kids to eat sardines. Costco has, and I'm sure other places do, they have the boneless, skinless sardines without the heads, so the kids don't see the heads, because that's kind of gross when kids are like, oh my gosh, it has eyes. They won't eat it. So as long as they never see the eyes. But it tastes like sardines if you've never had them. It tastes like tuna fish, and you can make them like tuna salad and put celery and carrots and all those like pickles. We put pickles in, a little bit of, usually the soy-free veganese, or an avocado oil-based mayonnaise. And make it into tuna salad sandwiches, and the kids can't tell the difference between that and tuna fish. It just tastes a little bit stronger. It's a little bit more of a fishy taste, but you can mask it. Pickle juice will mask anything. Put some pickle juice in it. It's fine. Food sources of zinc. Zinc is important. Yes. Does somebody have a question? Yeah.
Yes. I want to tell you that I got cod liver, cod liver oil from European grocery store, and it's really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's also a really good source.
You got it around here somewhere?
Yeah, in Cherry Hill.
Oh, cool.
It's by Wetmans.
Okay, neat. So is it fermented or is it like regular cod liver oil? European?
I don't know what it is, but it's cod liver in its own oil.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. So you can eat the livers.
So you just open it and you just eat the
Oh, wow. Neat. So you get it right from the source. Cool.
I guess you can find it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's neat. Thank you for that tip. That's really cool. Food sources of zinc. A lot of people are deficient in zinc. Zinc is essential for the health of the mucous membranes, reducing the risk of infections and leaky gut. Food sources of zinc include shellfish, excuse me, beef and lamb, pumpkin seeds, which are also good for preventing parasites. Parasites are super prevalent. Most people have them, don't realize it. Pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, cashews, most of the beans, especially dark beans and lentils, as well as dark chocolate, cocoa, and chocolate powder. So there's some vindication for chocolate. It's really high in zinc. So just make sure you get the really dark stuff, or dark cocoa powder, and eat it in moderation. Antioxidants. We know antioxidants are really important because they reduce oxidation in the body. Blue and purple foods. Most fruits and vegetables are antioxidants. Antioxidant-rich berries are the richest and can be included fresh or frozen in the diet daily. A lot of these are out of season now. Some of them still are, but blueberries, red grapes, beets, and radishes. You can get them frozen, and they're okay, because when they pick fruit and vegetables and freeze it, they freeze it at the peak of freshness, and so that only a little bit of the nutrition is lost when they freeze it. So you're still going to get most of it, as long as you don't cook it to death. And you cook it at low heats if you do it. Or my kids eat the blueberries and grapes frozen out of the bag. Probably do too, right? Or put them in your smoothies. The kids love them. Radish is not so much, but there's a recipe at realfoodoutlaws.com for a radish and cucumber salad that my kids love. It has parsley, radishes, and cucumbers, and you can put like feta cheese if you're not sensitive to dairy. And my kids love it, and they'll eat the radishes like tomorrow. But that's the only way I can get them to eat radishes is with that in that salad. But it's good because I know they're getting good antioxidants. Detox supporting food. These foods are good for us too. This obviously is not just for kids. So we're getting us too. We have to take care of ourselves too. In addition to antioxidants, dark green leafy veggies, especially kale, collard greens, broccoli, support detoxification as a result of phytochemicals called sulforaphane and indoles they contain. They are best eaten slightly cooked. So you get the most bang for your buck when you slightly cook the cruciferous vegetables. So when you cook them, you actually unlock the potential of their nutrition a little bit further than when you eat them raw. They're really hard to digest. So by the time your body breaks everything down, a lot of the nutrition is kind of like lost. And it's really also good to eat vegetables with fats because a lot of vegetables are fat soluble. The vitamins are fat soluble. So D and K and A, fat soluble. If you eat them with butter or coconut oil or olive oil, you're going to unlock the potential of them a little bit further in your body. That's why Italians eat everything with olive oil because they know that, and olives. Fiber from plants and grains prevents constipation. If you can tolerate grains, a lot of people can't, which interferes with nutrient absorption and acts as a prebiotic, meaning it feeds and nourishes the presence of good gut flora. So a lot of people will say take probiotic, but the thing with probiotics is if you don't have the gut flora for it to colonize on, probiotics just go through your system. Probiotics actually have to be able to stick to something, and a lot of times they have nothing to stick to, so they do nothing. If someone has small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and they take probiotics, they're actually going to feel worse. They'll get bloating. I recommend taking a prebiotic first and fixing the gut with some kind of gut flora complex of some kind, garlic, those types of things that kind of clear any bacteria, and then add in the probiotics later when the body can actually use them and you're not wasting your money on them just going through your body. Essential fatty acids, really important, especially this time of year for kids. Omega-3 EFA supplementation, particularly from fish oil, may have a role in preventing the development of allergic sensitization and airways disease in early childhood. So it helps protect your kids from asthma and allergies and sensitivities, nasal passages, bronchitis, those types of things. It protects against allergies, asthma in later childhood and beyond. It's really important to understand the EPA and DHA balance. I usually will have something with a higher EPA in it for children that are more depressed and have anxiety, because it's more of a downer. It kind of it's more calming. And I have something with a higher DHA in it for kids who are depressed, because it will the opposite. So EPA is upper and DHA is a downer. So I don't give, so for example, tuna omega oil, we use tuna omega oil a lot. It has a high DHA. If I had someone come in and their child was depressed, I wouldn't want to give them a high dose of tuna oil, because it would make them really calm and not happy. I give them something with EPA, but if someone comes in with ADD and ADHD, I'm not going to give them the high EPA, because then it bounces off the walls because it makes you super happy. But for like moms with postpartum depression, I give them high EPA. Soup it up the EPA for the moms, because it really does help with that. Does organic matter? Now, we were chattering a little bit about this, right? Like with all the husbands who don't do organic, right? Who don't believe us. So if the husbands are watching, this is for you. Does organic matter? Organic foods are a better choice for all kids and may be especially important for kids with allergy epidemic conditions. Many pesticides have been shown to damage the immune system, affecting the shape and functioning of immune cells and immune response. Some directly promote inflammation. We have a lot of kids with compromised immune systems who come in, and we check the thymus gland, which is here. There's lots of things here, but the thymus gland is one of them. And we also check the spleen, which are very much in tune with the immune system. And if those two are in trouble, then we know the immune system's in trouble as well. And a lot of times when we test, we find pesticides. So we know pesticides directly affect the immune system, and if we can get the pesticides out of the system, the immune system can function better. Washing produce helps, but not all produce and fruits and vegetables can be washed, and you can't wash it out. Like, you can't wash strawberries because the pesticides are inside. If you go to the ewg.org and get the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 list, you know that you can't do that with apples or berries or so many fruits and vegetables that if you wash them, it doesn't matter. It's all inside. It's systemic. The pesticides are systemic, and you have to get them organic. There's antibiotics in our meat and our dairy. So antibiotics in inorganic meats and dairy lead to antibiotic resistance and damage the gut flora, and antibiotics are known to damage the cell's mitochondria. Specialized organelles required for energy production, affecting functions like tissue repair and detoxification. We're seeing lots of kids, especially at Children's Hospital, they have a lot of kids with mitochondria issues, like diseases that are rare with mitochondria, and this is what's going on. There's really bad antibiotics used in animals, so we kind of can't get away from them. We have people who are super sensitive to corn, and when they eat chicken or turkey that have eaten corn, they get an allergic reaction to the meat, because you are what your food eats, right? Yep. You're not just what you eat, you are what your meat eats. So that's something we see all the time. People who are highly allergic, people who have lupus or Hashimoto's, thyroiditis, who are super sensitive to grains, they cannot eat vegetarian-fed meats and poultry. They have it's visible all over them. They can say it's a rash. GMOs contain new and never been seen before proteins and have been linked by some research to allergies. There's also some new and wonderful parasites that have come out of GMOs. So there's something called a ropeworm that has been linked to a genetically modified organism. Recently discovered, because it actually takes your DNA. It's a rope. It's about that long. It's about that thick. They're disgusting. I've seen them. Patients have brought them in for me to look at. Thank you very much. Not what I really wanted to see. But what they do is it's part of your epithelial cells. So the worm takes on your skin cells and kind of like entwines it. So when you test the ropeworm, you get your cells. So people would do coffee enemas, and these things would slough out. These worms would come out, and they said, "Oh, it's just it's sloughing off your intestines. It's just cleaning," but it wasn't. These big, humongous worms, and so now people realize it's actually a mutation.
You're going to be scarred by that. I heard that months ago, and I'm still scarred by that.
Genetically modified. Did you have one of those? No.
What?
Did you have one of those? Or
No, I'm just hearing about it for the first time.
Okay.
And it's just yucky.
When I heard about it for the first time,
Never ever.
so my kids are 16, 14, 11, and 5. So my 3 older ones, when I first learned about ropeworms, I was down in Clearwater because I did all my clinical training for 2 years in Clearwater. I went down there once a month for 2 years. And when I would go down, I would always learn about these cool things. So I was texting them like, go look up, go Google ropeworm. And they're like, oh my gosh, Mom. I freaked them out. So it was fun. So switching to organic. Organic foods haven't been irradiated, a process that can reduce or destroy nutrients and produce free radicals. A recent study found that organic fruits and vegetables didn't necessarily contain more nutrition, but they did contain up to 69% more antioxidants than ordinary products. Switching to organic, authors said, can boost antioxidant intake by 20 to 40%. Now, what we do know is that fruits, all fruits, organic or not organic, are not the same fruits as we had before. So what's happening is because of the depletion in soil and because of people's need for more things that are more sweet, they hybridize fruit to be more sweet, so they're actually more fructose. There's more fructose in fruit than there used to be. So when I had Lyme disease, I could not have any fruit. I didn't eat fruit for 2 years, nothing, no fruit, because fruit would send my body into a tailspin. Now fruit's supposed to be healthy for you, right? But it's not. It's actually most of the time it's no better for your body than candy. And what's happening is if you're healthy, it's fine. You can have fruit in moderation, 1 to 2 servings a day. But the fruit is not like it used to be because of the sugar content in it. So if you test fruit now, and I wish we could have access to fruit from before, but we can't. There's a huge difference in the nutrition, the sugar, the fructose, and fructose is actually dangerous to the body. So we don't do a lot of fruit in my program. So we do the low glycemic stuff. Problem foods, gluten found in wheat, barley, and rye. Most of the people who come into the office actually don't have a gluten intolerance. They have a wheat intolerance specifically. Zoe Deschanel, if you know Zoe Deschanel, the actress, she's doing a whole documentary series. So look at, I forget what it's called. It's something food, but she's talking about all of the underlying issues to foods. And the last one she put out yesterday or this week was your bread's not real. And she talks about the bread making process and how it's completely a fake food. So potassium bromate or bromides are iodine mimickers, and they are a preservative that is found in bread. If you look at the back of regular bread, you'll see bromate, bromide, potassium bromide. It mimics iodine, so people say, how come so many people have thyroid issues and how so many people are getting Hashimoto's? It's epidemic now. Hashimoto's is epidemic. It's because the body, when you take in the potassium bromide, it mimics iodine. The body thinks it's getting iodine, but it's not, and then the body starts to attack because it's not getting what it needs. You become very iodine deficient. So what we're finding is people need iodine.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Go ahead.
Bromide?
Bromate. It's a couple different names. Potassium. But it mimics iodine. So the thyroid thinks it's getting it, but it's not. So it actually turns against itself. Corn is cross-reactive with gluten. Everyone who comes in who has a true gluten sensitivity, usually sensitive to corn, which throws off the whole gluten-free thing, because most gluten-free things are what? Corn, right? So that's why people are still really sick. They go off the wheat and the gluten, but they're still eating a lot of corn, and they're just as sick. Maybe not as sick, but they're pretty sick still because of the cross-reactivity. The proteins in corn sometimes can be as bad as the protein in wheat. Dairy, raw milk may be an exception. You guys have access to raw milk. You know where you can get raw milk? If you don't,
Gina?
Yeah, Gina. If you don't, there's Gina. There's a point right here. There's a drop point here in Cherry Hill, and then there's the Family Cow, yourfamilyfarmer.com. They're in Philadelphia and Bristol by the Art Museum. So that's where I usually get my stuff. Food dyes, carrageenan, other additives and preservatives. Those are problem foods, and high histamine foods are an extensive list. So I have a patient who was having histamine issues, and her nutritionist, before she came to me, told her to eat egg whites. Egg whites are one of the highest histamine foods, and she was having all these reactions. She's like, "Oh, I eat egg white omelet every single morning." I'm like, "Okay, well that's going to have to go because Strawberries are high histamine, bone broth is high histamine, fermented foods are high histamine. So people who have autoimmune disease, sometimes they can't start off with the awesome fermented stuff because of the histamines. You have to get rid of the histamine issues first. So you really have to, there's so much to navigate through. Even with kids, a lot of kids have high histamine issues. So you got to really know.
It can be so frustrating.
It is
You're
frustrating.
doing awesome by
Yeah.
drinking bone broth and then.
Yep. There's ways to prepare it and get it. If you get it refrigerated or frozen fast enough, the histamines are not as bad. But you have to really. Some people have said they've gone on the GAPS diet and gotten so sick, and it's because they're having histamine reactions left and right because they're autoimmune. So a lot of the autoimmune. So I have a lot of issues like with autoimmune protocols. There's no one size fits all. And I have a lot of kids who have autoimmune diseases, and you cannot just go, and you just can't do just straight GAPS without testing them. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to do GAPS with my kids, because if they have histamine issues, oh my gosh, they get so sick. And it's sad. So, heal your gut, heal your life. Fermented foods including pickles. So if you don't have histamine issues and you can tolerate, fermented foods including pickles, sauerkraut, dilly, green beans, carrot sticks, yogurt, kefir. I have a bunch of recipes for this on my blog, so you can learn how to ferment. We do fermenting classes here sometimes too. Usually once a year we do a fermenting food 101 and 102, which is really fun. Probiotics, bone broths, resistant starches including tiger nuts, potatoes, cashews, green bananas, cruciferous vegetables, that's your broccolis and your cauliflowers, those types of things, and Jerusalem artichokes. Okay, let's talk about eczema. Eczema. Our goals with eczema, we have lots of kids with eczema that we've able to reverse the eczema completely, which is awesome. Reverse your leaky gut, dysbiosis, and food sensitivities. Soothe and heal the skin. Prevent scratching and secondary skin infections. We use supportive measures. So we apply emollient soothing creams often, and also after bathing. Only pat the skin dry and slather on a moisturizing cream to retain moisture and act as a protective barrier to the skin. Do not use anything that is petroleum-based or mineral oil-based. Make sure it is not. It's better to use something like with a coconut oil base if their body can tolerate coconut oil, or tallow. Tallow is an excellent option with some frankincense and lavender. It's usually a really, really good option for that. Only mild unscented soaps, or skip soap altogether, and use unscented mild natural detergents for clothing and bedding. So be super careful. You can make your own detergents very cheaply and easily. 100% natural cotton clothing, at least when they're in flare-ups, avoiding wool and flame retardant fabrics. If you buy clothes, go to the thrift store, because if you're buying pajamas, usually pajamas that have flame retardants have been washed so many times by the time you get them from the thrift store that they're not as bad. Or you can get, like Hannah Anderson has like the ones that don't have the flame retardants, and I think even like Target has like an organic and baby. What is over here? Those are the baby store here, Baby. They have organic non-flame retardant ones too. So you just try to look for the ones.
Carter's also sells
Do they?
non-flame retardant.
Yeah.
They're not organic, but
Yeah.
they're the snug fit
Right.
ones, and they have a yellow tag saying that they're not flame
Okay, yeah, look for those, because that flame retardant is just like it. Your skin is your largest organ, so it goes right in and stuff's nasty. Keep the kids' fingernails short and clean to prevent infections from scratching and damaging the skin. If you can, breastfeed exclusively for at least 4 to 6 months. Don't delay introduction of common food triggers, but if eczema develops, remove the common triggers mentioned above. So the ones that we were mentioning were like eggs and dairy and wheat, like the ones we talked about, the problem foods. If a parent has celiac disease or severe gluten intolerance, immediately remove gluten. So if you have that, if you know you have celiac disease, obviously you want to watch that in the kids, because that tends to be genetic. If you're formula feeding, switch to a hydrolyzed milk formula instead of a cow's milk formula, and consider giving borage oil for 6 months to decrease eczema severity. Or you can have it tested and see if they can tolerate a raw milk formula, because that's obviously the best, is to try to do a Weston Price raw milk formula if you're having trouble with breast milk, or if what you're eating is severely affecting. Then usually for us here, we get mom taken care of, and then baby simultaneously. That way the sensitivities are fixed in both. So we fix this, because most of our moms coming in, they really want to be able to breastfeed, but baby's flaring up all over the place, and they can't figure out everything I take out of my diet. The baby's still flaring, so we figure out the sensitivities both ways, which is really, really peace of mind for mom, because then the baby's not flaring up and she doesn't feel bad and sad about not being able to breastfeed. Homemade raw milk, obviously an option, and then follow an elimination diet with continuing avoidance of triggering foods. We also use herbs topically for eczema. So herbal salves containing comfrey, plantain, calendula, or calendula, however you would like to say that, are my go-to for babies with eczema and have been used traditionally as natural emollients for moisturizing, protecting, and healing damaged skin. 2% licorice gel has been shown to be effective in treatment of atopic dermatitis. Also it's my secret weapon against eczema, is licorice tincture internally for babies. So it's like a steroid, it's a natural steroid. So it's been key in fixing eczema cases across the board for us. So we do that at some point in a nutrition program with every eczema case. We are using the licorice internally, which is awesome. It's awesome for kids. Honey and beeswax oil. You can prepare this at home by mixing equal parts of honey with melted beeswax. You can put that on the rash. Manuka honey is also a good option for that. And it's been shown to be just as effective as petroleum jelly, which I don't recommend, obviously, because the petroleum is like oil from crude oil, gasoline. Honey is revered for its skin healing properties, partly by helping the skin retain moisture, but should not be taken internally, obviously, by babies under 1 due to the risk of botulism. So we don't use it on their licking or whatever. We don't want them to get that. Internally, so we do the licorice extract twice a day during a flare for up to 2 weeks at a time. It acts like a natural cortisol. Nettle is awesome. So if you have kids with any kind of allergies at all, no matter what the allergies are, nettle, it doesn't even have to be freeze-dried nettles. You can do the nettle tea, nettle is super cheap to get. You can get it from Frontier or Mountain Rose Herbs. And you make a tea out of it, and then we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes, how to make the herbal teas for kids. And you can make it into a popsicle, or you can make it and they'll drink the tea. And if you make it palatable enough, put a little mint in there, or put a little bit of honey, the kids will drink it. It's really, really good. Nettle tea can stop an allergy attack in 15 minutes. So if someone's having like a sneezing allergy, water eyes, coughing, whatever, you give them some nettle tea and it's gone. 15 minutes. It's amazing. Nettle's awesome. It's my favorite herb. Asthma and allergies. Supporting the liver helps the body detoxify and reduces inflammation that leads to asthma and allergies. Nutrition response testing is the best solution, obviously, because we can figure out what part of the liver is messed up and what specifically needs to detox. ADD, ADHD, diet is key. There's a gut-brain connection here, obviously. We actually had a talk last night on mental health, and we talked about this a little bit. You can view that. It was recorded, so you can actually view that on the NHIC South Jersey page if you want to.
Can you tell me about that one? Because my son has ADHD.
Yeah. So there's a gut-brain connection there.
Or did you say there's a video?
There's a video, at NHIC, Facebook.com/NHIC South Jersey. We have all of the recordings of our talks available for free on there, so you can see them.
Okay.
So that was last night, so it'll be probably the last thing posted. We usually test for metals, chemicals, and other stressors. Food eliminations are necessary, so there are going to be some, because always ADD, ADHD always has a food component because there's a gut component. But there's also an underlying immune system issue with every single case, and sometimes there's metal and chemical toxicity. So it's all these things together that contribute to brain dysfunction and then mood changes, and then gut issues. Supplementation is effective if done under the supervision of a practitioner. Success with herbs, whole food, and homeopathy. Really, really good success with getting kids, getting the right mineral balance and the right vitamins and getting the right foods in their systems and pulling out the sugar. So we were talking last night at our mental health talk about how there was a recent study done that if you lengthen the time of recess, that the ADD, ADHD kind of went away in kids, because they just aren't getting enough outside time, and kids are meant to play, especially in the younger grades. So exercising, letting them run around, getting all their energy out. ADD, ADHD is a symptom. So what they're doing is they're giving kids diagnosis for things that aren't really an illness. It's a symptom, but they're not really treating the underlying issue. So if you can figure out what's going on at the root cause and fix that, then the symptom of ADD, ADHD goes away, because you can rebalance the brain, you can fix all those things, but you have to know how and why everything's going on. Okay, so there's a recipe handout. So go ahead and pull that out. We're going to go through that real quick here. So a 10-page handout here. I type really big so you can actually see it. So veggie smoothie popsicle. So what I do with those is you can get the Tavolo from Amazon, the Tavolo, all the different shapes. They have all the BPA-free popsicle molds. They have a star, and they have like a regular, all these cool ones, the rocket ship. You can get those, or you can also do this, which is you can get like these little BPA-free, make your own freeze pops. You know, in the summertime, if you go to like a play group or something, and they always bring out those artificial, disgusting freeze pops and your kids are like, Mom, can I please have this fluorescent green? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. For the red ones, you can get these and make your own with any of these recipes, and they're really, really cool, and kids love them, especially in the summer. This time of year, not so much because it's a little bit cold, but so we got the berry red popsicles, veggie popsicles. You can see you got blueberries, some red chard, red pepper, banana. I don't use the juice in these because it's too much sugar, so I will usually just use some herbal tea, or I'll just use water or coconut water. We don't drink juice in our house, so this is just kind of a recipe that I borrowed, but I don't use the juice part. Orange, carrot, mango popsicles. You can see the recipe there. A mango, oranges, carrots, a banana. Blend the veggies and fruits together along with the juice or water, which I prefer, and then you fill the sleeves up. So they're really, really cool. And I will actually wanted to show you this too in a minute, but that muffin tin there. Lime cream popsicles. You use a lime, some spinach. So you're getting the veggies in them. Banana, apple. And this is a more tart, so some kids really like the tartness of the citrus. I know I do. I like tart, so I really like this one. And then oatmeal. So if you're not sensitive to oats, you can actually do this with buckwheat too. So apple pie, crock pot oatmeal. You can see the recipe there. Kids love this. It tastes really good. It tastes like apple pie, and they love it in the morning. It's nice and warm, especially this time of year. And it shows you how to soak the oats and how to make the oatmeal. You make it in a crock pot. And it's really good. And then on the next page, page 3, you have your nut-free kind bars from thenourishinghome.com. A little bit time-consuming to make, but they're really, really good. And they're really good for you. Lots of good protein in there. Low sugar. So you can see the process is kind of long. The ingredients list isn't as long as the process. Hold on. Stuff. There you go. Okay, and then if you have sensitivities to any of these things, you have to pay attention to those. Muffin tin meals or nibble trays. You can see the picture. So one of my favorite things, so we have a lot of kids that have autism, Asperger's, they have sensory issues, those types of things. And it's really hard to get picky kids to eat certain foods. Sometimes kids will only eat one color of food. Like they'll eat white foods and that's it, or they'll eat green food, that's it. What we have found to be beneficial to kids with any kind of pickiness is muffin tin. You get a muffin tin, and you fill it up with all different kinds of fruits and vegetables and dips like hummus, those types of things. You can have a couple muffin trays, and put them in the middle of your table, and where the kids can reach them, and watch what they go for. Just tell them they have permission to go and just do whatever they want. And I used to do this with my kids, and whatever they like the most, I would give them more of those things. But then they would tend to try other things too. So with kids with autism, if you get really bright colored plates and you put them around on the low tables with different foods, put one food on each plate, because autistic kids don't like things touching usually. So you have to have one thing on each plate. You put them in various places of the house. And it doesn't work if you have pets, because they'll eat everything. So I have cats, it doesn't work for me anymore. But before I had pets in the house, it worked. And wait till they go, see what they go for. And if left to their own accord, kids actually will start to go and they'll pick the things that they want. And you can give them more of those types of things as you go through. So it's kind of cool to watch, because you're not forcing them to do it. It's their idea, right? It's just out there just for anybody. And if it's their idea, they'll go ahead and eat it. And we've been able to get kids to eat, expand their palate a little bit, because the nutrition coming in, you're eating the same thing every day and not rotating your foods, you're missing nutrients left and right, and your body becomes very, very deficient. So we have to get a way for these kids to get these foods in their systems. So those are cool. So there's tons of lists. You can see all the different foods to give you lots of ideas to put in the trays, because I'm not super creative, so I have to have lists. So this is super helpful. Herbal nutrition for kids. So as a clinical herbalist, I use herbs a lot. Herbal infusions can be used as a daily multivitamin. So here's some really good herbs you can use as multivitamin herbs. So oat straw, nettle, red raspberry, red clover, linden, which tastes really good. You can do a mixture or one of the herbs. You can put them in some boiling water and steep them for at least 4 hours, and then drink it, heated, iced. And then there's some additions in the bottom. What you can have, if you have a cold, you add rose hips or amla for vitamin C. I love rose hips. They smell good and they have a nice tart taste. And if you have a teenager in the house, or if you have acne as an adult, which I had for years, and up until like a year ago when I got rid of my Lyme finally, You add burdock and dandelion in there, and you can add a bit of peppermint to make it tastier. So I always add peppermint to everything because it tastes good. And then you can make herbal infused smoothie popsicles. And the list of immune-building herbs to help you. If you're not familiar with herbs, it's a really good list for you to kind of see what you can use. So echinacea and rose hips, alfalfa and orange peel. And it shows you how to make herbal infused popsicles, which are really fun. And kids love them, and that's a good way to get their herbs in them. And on page 9, you have your herbal bone broth. So it's a really good way to make an immune system building bone broth. If you go to my blog, there is also, all the content on my blog is free. So you can go there, and there is a couple of different bone broth recipes and how to take bone broth and those types of things. And there's a chicken immune noodle soup that you can make with gluten-free noodles or make them with rice, but it's an immune system building broth as well. And there's also a mushroom infused broth. So, and you can do it in the Instant Pot. If you guys have a pressure cookers are awesome for doing everything in, quick and easy. And that is that. So, any questions? Questions? Comments?
This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much information.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And it'll be, you can watch the replay, so if you missed anything, you can always replay. And if you want to take pictures of any of the slides, just come up and flip through and take a picture. It's fine. All right. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.